real business owners.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 885. Per usual, me and Kel are with you.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Guys, today we have a third person on the podcast. You know, he's a proven winner. I could tell you that just by the resume. You know, he's an owner of, is it Anthem Sales?
Anthem Pest Control.
Anthem Pest Control. Successful college football player turned pro for a little bit, correct?
Correct.
And training to be an Ironman. Add that to your resume. The list keeps kind of growing, doesn't it?
As it should, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you start focusing on self-improvement, all you're doing is look at what's the next thing that I can do.
Yep.
You know, like you're not sitting there celebrating some of the old wins that you've had, which I'm sure maybe you know people that you used to play ball with that, you know, went to the league and they were in the league for a few years and then they kind of fade off and they don't ever do anything else with their life because they're not looking for, you know, that next win. Maybe they're still celebrating some of the old wins that they've had, and then they kind of just fade off and don't really have 100%. A successful life, right?
And I think, one, it's a shame because everybody, I was telling my family this last night, everyone is so talented in their own way. Like everyone has some serious gifts. Or multiple.
Yeah.
Like football and competing in sport was a gift. Luckily, I've been blessed with height and size and massive hands to help catch footballs, right?
Unlike me and Kel. No height, no massive hands.
Yeah. You guys can do things I couldn't do.
Yeah, right.
And so, to your point, sometimes when all people want to do with me is talk football, I get almost a little bit embarrassed. It's like, wait a minute, like that was me 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. I played college and in the NFL, and that was me 5 years ago. I'm happy to celebrate and talk football.
Yeah.
I love talking about that. But I want to be known as an entrepreneur now.
Yeah,
so I can't go back and play football.
Yeah. And that's why we wanted to have you on, right? So we wanted to bring somebody on that examples what winning looks like.
Yeah.
You know, not only just in your past, but what you're doing now, how you constantly push yourself. And by the way, everybody, it's Mitch Mathews.
Oh, I don't think I actually said his name. My bad.
How we doing?
I'm trying to keep you a secret, bro. It's the mystery guest. You know, it's up to you guys to figure it out for yourself. Right. Do a little bit of Google searching with some of the stuff that we already dropped. You know?
I did see your last post where you were talking about in your caption that if you've got a body, you're an athlete. You know, and everybody can be an athlete. And so I thought that was cool.
No, without a doubt. You know, one of the coolest things that I think is on your resume is self-improvement junkie. You know what I mean? There's all these other cool things and people want to talk to you about football or this, that, the other. But in reality, you know, you're always seeking that next challenge, right? And I would attribute our success to that exact same thing. The moment that we started investing into self-improvement, surrounding ourselves with proven winners, is when we started leveling up, and then you actually start hunting challenges, right? The average person complains about the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis, but those are challenges that knock on their door, right? And come to them. And they're not mentally prepared to take on a challenge because they've never challenged themselves, right? And the individuals that actually knock on challenges door and say, hey, I want to take that on. I want to try that. I want to do that, and not really see limitations. When shit happens to you or something happens that you don't have control over, it's so much easier to win in that scenario because you're just like, well, it's just another challenge. I've overcome this, and this. And so you look at things from a different perspective when you have that self-improvement junkie type mindset where you're just itching for more information. How can I get faster, quicker, better, stronger? What can I do that the average person isn't doing just to create that separation, right?
You know what it comes down to, though, is you have to be in a mindset of constantly digesting your old self. Like I just had a baby. She's 7 weeks old tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
And that little baby is full of cells and atoms and it's just this little human.
Yeah.
And what we think is that baby is just going to stretch and be the same exact person and get older. But that baby will actually not even be existing 10 years from now.
Yep.
All of its cells, its skin will slip off, its hair.
Yep.
It'll all recycle itself. So in 10 years, I won't even know that same, it'll be two different people that I've raised.
The whole cell will be different, the body.
The whole entire body.
Yeah.
Every single cell will have died off, its bones, it'll have regenerated itself. So why can't we take that mindset with our life resume? Just digest yourself. So I was good at football back in the day.
Yeah.
But the ball stops rolling for everybody.
I would bet if we went and played a pickup game, you'd still be all right.
I'd baptize people on the basketball court.
The turkey bowl or something. I'm sure you know, MVP turkey bowl winner every year.
Hey, remember we played flag football with Van Gilder, and he had a buddy that played pro as well?
I think
he was just, he looked like he was just jogging.
No, I think he played with you. He was on
I know Van
BYU.
Gilder. Yeah.
He was on
Cody Hoffman?
Hoffman is who
Yeah,
it was.
Cody,
I think he plays in Canada.
He used to.
Or he did.
He used to.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
he
this
did.
was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We go out and play a freaking turkey bowl. I thought it was just a couple of the old worn out office bros, you know, where I was like, I'm an athlete, you know, when we're not, we're going to pull something or whatever. He brings a couple of people with some talent.
Cody wasn't just average, though. Cody was an All-American.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he was a stud. He's a playmaker, too.
Yeah, we were just kind of watching it. You know, I wasn't guarding that ass. That wasn't happening.
Well, he played quarterback a lot, but even when he just was a light strider, even in softball, we played with him too. He would just stride around the bases. It was like superhuman.
Yeah. Effortless speed.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, those guys swinging their arms. It looks like they give everything they got, but they're moving like a snail. And then there's the dude that just makes it look easy, you know? So, but let me ask you this, man. I mean, like, when did the self-improvement stuff kind of start coming into the equation? I know that you, as an athlete, you're always trying to improve in that specific field, whatever it's basketball, football, baseball. Athletes are going to focus on their craft, right? That's just kind of part of their life, right? With practice and your lifts and studying. Like, when did the actual self-improvement was that more of a transition into entrepreneurship where you're like, man, I want to actually, because before you maybe didn't have to spend money on coaches because the coaches were there.
Sure.
I'm guessing that you've invested money into self-improvement, flown places, met specific people that have helped you level up, right? Yep. When did you start taking that serious enough to where you started taking your own coin and investing into it?
Gosh, that is such a loaded question. So I had 5 answers coming to me when you asked that question.
Yeah.
So hopefully I encompass it all.
Can I actually get you to talk just a little bit?
Yep, you got it, man.
Thanks so much.
So I'm glad you said that self-improvement was brought to me when I was playing football, because it really was. We had some big-time speakers come in and speak to our team all the time. The Iron Cowboy was actually one of them. He came and spoke. That was our first time him and I kind of became distant buddies. He came and spoke to us my senior year about mental strength.
Yeah.
And so I always had these speakers to come to, but it came free.
Yeah.
I always had a nutritionist, but it came free. It was actually forced upon me to do that.
Yeah.
I always had coaches pushing me, breathing down my neck, challenging me.
Yep.
So I always had that there for me, but that comes to a complete halt when football's done. Yeah. Complete halt. Like when going from the NFL, it's even more intensive. But it actually comes to a complete halt. So not only does it come to a halt, then I have to find my way to still continue to stay in shape.
Yeah.
Now I'm on this whole new journey. Now I'm figuring out what gurus do I need now.
Yeah.
So when I stopped playing football, luckily for me, I love entrepreneurship just as much as I love football. And that's where I think a lot of athletes, they lose, is because football was all they had, all they knew. Once it's done, they have no clue. Luckily for me, entrepreneurship has been a passion of mine and a love of mine forever. And I knew I was going to enjoy it just as much as football. And luckily I do. So I'm very, very fortunate that way. But you're right. I had to start being creative with, okay, now how do I invest that coin? How do I invest my money to become the entrepreneur that I want to come? Where football, it just came to me.
Yeah, they're investing into you, and part of investing into you is getting you the information that you need to grow. Right? And then when that's gone, it's up to you to figure it all out and start challenging yourselves, because before you got somebody pushing you and challenging you, right?
So I have 9 methods of high performance. And one of them, number 5, is find yourself a pro bowler. And I've realized that I'm the world's biggest copycat. When I was in college, I would hang around the All-Americans as much as possible. Dennis Pitta was there, Max Hall was there. I would stick around those guys as much as possible, because if I can just be in proximity with the best people on the team, the way they talk, the way they speak, the way they play football, it's just going to be different.
Even their habits.
The habits.
Absorbing some of their habits.
They're going to be different than the masses.
Right.
Cody Hoffman was another All-American. I played with him, so I just put myself in proximity to him, the way he thought, the way he played, the way he handled his business on the field. I was like, if I can just be next to him, I'll be pretty dang good. When I was with the Miami Dolphins, Jarvis Landry was a Pro Bowler at the time.
Yeah.
And I purposely picked the seat right next to him. So we were in meetings together for like 6 months. I was here. Jarvis Landry is here right next to me because the principle of finding yourself a Pro Bowler, that was real to me in college.
Right.
It was real to me in the NFL. So I played some of my best football when I picked a locker right next to Joe Thomas when I was on the Cleveland Browns. His locker was directly to the left of mine. If I had 3 lockers to pick from, where the Pro Bowlers at, where the best guys at, so I can be in natural conversation with him. So if I can sit by Jarvis Landry, I'm going to sit by him and pick his brain to the point where he starts inviting me to lunch, inviting me to look over the playbook with him so I can just pick his brain and learn at an accelerated rate. Because we're all going to die super fast, super soon. It's coming quick. So if I can have an accelerated life and almost live 3 lives in one with my experiences, with mentors, with these Pro Bowlers, I'm going to accomplish more than I thought I originally set out to do. So that's the principle that I've always lived by, is finding yourself a Pro Bowler. And so that was football. And entrepreneurship, I found my Pro Bowlers. So Jeremy Andrus, he's the CEO of Traeger Grills. He's the guy that I stay in close contact with, because if you look at his resume, it's a Pro Bowl entrepreneur resume.
He's a winner.
I'm going to be in close proximity with him.
Absolutely.
And I went and shadowed him for when I was 27 years old. I mean, who's still shadowing people at that age? I shadowed him for 12 hours in his office.
People that want to win.
Right, there you go. I shadowed him for 12 hours in his office, and he kind of made fun of me for it. But I'm like, look, if I can just be in proximity, if proximity is power, I'm going to come sit in your office and digest everything you're saying. And within that 12 hours, I still talk about that 12 hours that I was with him to this day, and it still impacted me. Could you imagine a year with him? Could you imagine a couple years with him? So I reached out to a guy named Lewis Howes, who I'm sure you guys know, big podcast, absolutely. Awesome guy. I reached out to Lewis Howes, and long story short, he responded because him and I had a very crazy similar story with past life experiences, pro sports. I went and met up with him in California, and we just tossed the football around, did a workout together, and he was telling me about some of his favorite podcasts. And my wife was there with me. She's like, what was your number 1 and number 2 favorite podcasts? He said, number 1 was Kobe Bryant, which was obviously cool, and he was alive at the time. Number 2, though, he said was Wim Hof. And so Wim Hof is the Iceman. Right? So if you see me, I do a lot of ice therapy and a lot of work in the ice tub. But he said he was going to go on this excursion with Wim Hof come January. And this is a couple years ago. And he's like, me and some buddies are going to go to Poland with Wim Hof, stay at his house for a week. And he started listing out some of his buddies that were going. And I, without him even asking, I said, I'm in. I'm coming. I'm obviously coming, man. Him and I hit it off well, but I'm like, I'm coming. He's like, you're in. I'm like, I'm in. I'm coming. I'm coming to Poland with you. Sure enough, 6 months later, he texted me out of the blue and said, you coming to Poland still? I said, I'm in. So him and I went to Poland together with some amazing entrepreneurs. Jesse Itzler, Aubrey Marcus, Mike Posner was there, Steve Weatherford. I mean, I'm not naming all of them, but they're all amazing people. Right. And it changed my life. And so to be in proximity with those people, it accelerated my life. And so my outlook on life is just different. If I can hang around the Iron Cowboy, I took him out to lunch, hearing him talk about doing his next big thing, bigger than the 50-50-50 that he's doing, it inspired me to do something great like an Ironman. So proximity is power. Just sit by those people, feel their vibrations, feel their vibrations. It'll come off to you and it'll inspire you to be like, I can do exactly what you're doing.
We've actually, I love that you push yourself and you're willing to put yourself out there as well, because that's what Shrev and I have done the last few years, man. Like, we joined the RRT Syndicate so we could be in proximity with Ed and Andy. We met a lot of the guys like Jesse Itzler, and we haven't met Lewis Howes yet or anything, but Ryan Stuman, we met him. Now he brings Steve Weatherford into his culture. So we've been able to meet some of these guys. It's cool. It's impressive, and it changes your perception, but a lot of people, they fear putting themselves out there like that. So, you putting yourself out there just to reach out to Lewis Howes is incredible, because a lot of people won't do that because they're like, he's not going to respond to me, So, what does that look like for you, man, to put yourself out there? Is it just super easy for you, or is it kind of weird for you?
Luckily, I have a predisposition to not care what people think of me.
That's good.
I mean, look what I'm wearing right now. And it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm wearing a tank, I'm wearing a cycling hat.
I think it's badass.
I'm wearing a bib, and I'm wearing some spandex.
I think it's badass, but if it had the spinner thing on the top,
even better,
then it would just set it on fire.
It's over.
Let's go.
So I've been predisposed to never really care what people think about me, and going through football, going from college, facing rejection amongst coaches, not starting, that prepared me to face rejection. Going to the NFL afterwards, going undrafted, that's a huge knock on
your ego,
big time, because you're like, wait a minute, no one wants me. Wait a minute, what's going on here? I used to be the guy. Now no one wants me. And you get that in your head, and I got cut 4 different times. Within the span of a month, my mom passed away. I was cut for the third time. It was by the Minnesota Vikings. I started the business that I own now, Anthem Pest Control, and I got married. And that all happened within the span of a couple weeks.
Right. That's a lot of ups and downs, right?
A lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Enough to where I've almost taken the mindset of just get out there and get rejected. Who cares?
You're very comfortable staying uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's just what it comes down to.
I have to find that myself sometimes, because I'm like, you have to remind yourself sometimes, like, what the hell do I care, man? Just get up and speak, or whatever it is that you're doing.
Anyways, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, luckily, in the business that I'm in, we're in door-to-door sales. That's what I teach to 150 plus sales reps right now. Mm-hmm. So I've got to be a guy who loves rejection, where you celebrate rejection just as much as you celebrate the yeses and the wins.
I love that.
It's getting to the nose to get to the yes.
Exactly. That somebody messaged us not that long ago, and he's new to sales. He's like, well, how do you deal with like all the no's? And I'm like, you're just looking at it wrong. Like that means you're just one no away from getting the yes, right? Or you got the no out of the way, so you're one deal closer to closing one. It's just a numbers game. That's just a fact. If you knew that 100 doors, you're going to get 2 sales, 3 sales, 5 sales. Start running the math. How many doors can I knock in X amount of time, and just run the equation. Yep. The equation is going to work out every single time. Why are you hanging your hat on a no? The no don't pay your bills. Just move on with the same enthusiasm, the same energy. If you have a goal of making 6 figures or 200 or 300 or whatever your goal is, why would you let one no deter you from that? Because that if it was a yes, that one yes isn't going to get you to 200 grand, right? You're going to have to get your other yeses on other doors. But it's an uphill battle, dude. There's a reason why people make 100, 200, 300 grand in sales, because people can't get punched in the mouth over and over and over and continue to move forward with a positive mindset. And they struggle with that.
As you develop and you do get good at not caring about the rejection, you get more yeses. It's just amazing how that happens. And I actually saw that in your profile. I was like, dude, this guy got out and crushed 1,000 sales on the doors. I saw that you did that, right? And you did that personally, right? That wasn't your team. That was you. You crushed 1,000 sales. And so that's just like, if you're in the door-to-door, well, that's an incredible summer, know? And what else I think is very cool about that is, dude, you lead by example. So you get out there and you crush the doors with your guys, and a lot of people don't do that. They start a door-to-door company, they tell all their guys what to do, and you get out there and crush doors with them, and I think that's amazing.
I think what's powerful about that is you're actually taking all excuses away from them.
Yeah.
Because you're like, look, remember back in the day when I would go into that other sales room and somebody was like, the leads or nobody's picking up, and I said, scoot over. Mm-hmm. I said, show me people that aren't picking up. Or show me people that have told you no, because I'm not going to call your fresh leads because that's way too easy. And I'll scoot them over and I'll just start making a few dials. Within 2 or 3 dials, somebody picks up, I'll make a sell and just drop the headset. And just prove the point, just to rip the excuses out of their hands, right? Out of their minds. Because when something's not going your way, you just want to default and reflect like, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. Nobody ever looks that, oh, it's my mindset is just shitty. But when you start getting into the self-improvement space, that's all you do is look inside. Yep. You stop looking external. The average person looks external and places blame on why they are where they are. And the winners look internal and say, okay, well, that's shitty. What can I do to prevent that next time? Or how can I get better from it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And without ownership, you don't learn the lesson. Yeah. Right? You can't learn anything by me blaming you for something, because then I'm just saying, well, it's his fault. There's nothing I can do about it. And if there's nothing, if you have that type of a mindset, then you'll live the exact same life on repeat for the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years.
It takes practice though, because just by taking the mindset of, don't care about rejection, you can preach that all day, and someone could digest that and say, all right, I'm going to try hard today, I'm going to try hard to not care, I'm going to try hard to not care. Yeah. At the end of the day, they'll still care. Yeah. So it takes actual training though, like going through, being 25 years old and having my mom pass away in my arms as I'm playing NFL football, as I'm trying to get married and start a family, as I'm just barely starting my first business. If you go through actual hard times, that's painful. Yeah. And so the pain of other things, rejection, it becomes less painful because you put in perspective what real pain is. Those things, however, knocked on my door. I didn't choose to get cut. I didn't choose for my mom to pass away.
Yeah.
So those things knocked on my door. So my whole life is, and I'm wearing it all over for good reason, to redefine hard is I'm going to start knocking on hard's door. I'm going to start knocking on pain's door. Because when my threshold can be so much higher than that next person, that rejection of getting rejected 100 times a day in sales, it just doesn't sting me as bad.
Yeah.
And so if I'm getting less pain from that, I'm going to have higher
You know
levels
what real
of happiness.
difficult is?
Yep.
You know, in their eyes, like a lot of sales reps that are young and new to the game, they haven't really had difficult life experiences yet. So to them, getting no's and rejection, that's difficult to them because they're just new in the game. By the time they're 30 or 35 or 40, a no means absolutely nothing
They look
to
back
them.
and wish they would have had the mindset
exactly,
they had now back
exactly.
then.
You know, all we can do is say some of the right things, but in a lot of cases, people got to learn from just life experiences.
You got to put it in serious practice.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Serious practice. Like going to the gym once a day and doing a half-effort workout, like that's a great thing for your physical body. But if that's all you want, though, is just to improve a tad, then keep doing exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you want to improve a ton, you got to absolutely test your limits all the time. Because if I'm used to testing my limits in football, as I did, I have 10 screws out my body. I made it at the highest level of football. Like I tested my limits and I tested my body. So the second football stopped, my mindset was, what's the next test?
Yeah.
What's next? Entrepreneurship. I love this. Let me try this out.
And that's a test.
Leadership.
And that's
it's a
entrepreneurship
test.
is a big
test.
test.
And so I was like, well, what's my next test? And it was entrepreneurship. It was leadership. It was sales. And luckily, I put tests in front of me. Like the test was 1,000 accounts. It was a purposeful test that I put in front of me, a purposeful roadblock.
That was like a goal that you had?
Goal, yeah. To break, at the time, every pest control sales record in the industry ever had was to break those records. And that was a test. So once you put a test out in front of you, let's say 5-6 months, now all of a sudden you go up and say, wait a minute. These next 6 months until that goal are going to be complete hell, though. Like this Ironman is. Like training for. I'll tell you my training to sell 1,000 accounts and break that industry record. So I had to reverse engineer that. That was a goal that I put out 6 months in advance, and I had to reverse engineer how to accomplish it. So I read 40 books in 40 straight weeks. I never read any book besides Captain Underpants before that. So I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
No, for real. We've talked about this
Captain
on the podcast.
Underpants.
We've talked about this. I read one book in like 9th grade and then hadn't touched a book except for the last maybe few years.
Yes.
Right? Because again, we joined the ROT Syndicate and Andy Frisella's was like, my library, I read, and I'm like,
come on, for real? Is that really going to help me out?
Yeah,
reading's boring.
I'm like, I'm not good at reading. I can't retain information. There goes all the old identity, right? Creeping back up when I want to improve. And so I finally got to a point where it was just like, you know what? Fuck that. I've got to figure out at this point, at this level, we've got to find the inches. Right? Like we've done very well just staying dumb in terms of like not self-improvement, no books, no nothing, just kind of figuring things out through experience. And then when we start investing into self-improvement, you're just trying to find those little teeny slivers. Where can I get that edge? And if it takes reading a book, even though that wasn't my thing, then I'm gonna pick up a book and try to figure this reading shit out. Let's see what's up. See what's up. Yeah,
you gotta start.
I am interested in the rest of your structure, what you reverse engineered to hit that 1,000 sales. Because it sounds like you structured it out.
Oh, 100%. And just like
you can't do it without freaking structure.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna break records unless you plan to break the record.
You got to reverse engineer. You put the goal way out in front, and then you got to reverse engineer. So my reverse engineering, I put the 1,000 accounts way out in front of me. And it was daunting already. I already had haters come in and say, this guy's never sold before, which is fuel to me. Yeah. Because I've always had that chip on my shoulder.
Right.
And I said, okay, what's it going to take to do this? Okay, first of all, I know nothing about sales. I'm a higher energy guy, but I know nothing about actual sales and communication skills, all those little 1% secrets. So I said, I'm going to read 40 business, sales, leadership books in 40 straight weeks to just cram as much information in my brain. And proximity is power. Yeah. Get proximity to a book. It's a super successful person talking to you. Yeah. Put yourself close to a book, meaning open it up. Yeah. I no joke would walk on a treadmill with my sales script up on like that little shelf you have on a treadmill. Like you're about to do a speech or something. I would walk the speed I wanted to walk from door to door. This is no joke, guys. Yeah. From door to door to door, reading my sales script so I could get I could get the cardiovascular endurance of how to speak and be kind of winded at the same time. I had the rejection training of getting cut 4 times and having my mom pass away. I had, I guess that wasn't rejection, but I had the pain threshold there. It was there. And so when the time shows up, I was a veteran before I'd even started. Makes sense? So I was able to start fast and start hot.
Based upon your life experiences, you were a veteran.
And I promise you this Ironman is going to be difficult, but the training is going to be more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The 1,000 accounts was very difficult, but the training and the consistency threshold, that was difficult.
It's probably the same in the NFL, right? The practice, the training,
Practice is hell, man.
all of that's shitty. But then when you if you get play on Sunday, that's the fun part.
It's fun.
The actual game is the fun part. My guess is the Ironman, that's going to be the fun part because exactly you finally get to enjoy all the work that you put in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Go through hell so you can experience that heaven. Those game days are heaven, man. When you're in the zone, you're not breathing that hard. You're winded in practice. You're gritting your teeth in practice. When it gets game time, it's just go time. And game time is not just for football players or basketball players. It's game time in anything. If you have a sales goal this year, that's game time. That's big sales competition. That's game time. That's tournament time.
Right.
So it comes back to putting yourself through purposeful, deliberate hell to get to enjoy that heaven piece, which is completing that Ironman. That'll be a fun day for me. It'll be hard.
Of course.
But looking back, I'll say training was way harder. You bundle all the training up together, it'll be way harder than the actual Ironman will be. Same with 1,000 accounts I sold. Same with starting a business. All the pre-training was way harder, but it made it even possible to experience
It's the same with business. I mean, when it comes to business, look at the first few years in business. It's a figuring out stage, right? You're putting in a lot of hours, a lot of time, maybe not making as much money as you would have hoped going into business. And then once we've got past year 5, year 6, year 10, year 12, now we're benefiting from all of the difficult work that was done in the beginning. You benefit by completing an Ironman based upon all the work that you did in the beginning, right? To get to that point, right?
Bottom line is all the gains are coming from the practice.
It's all from the process and it's all from the practice, right?
It is, man. Because every time we hit one level, it's like we set the bar higher, and it's like a whole new set of books, a whole new set of people you're getting closer to, a bunch of mental practices. It's never ending practice.
You know what's crazy though is there is nothing I couldn't stand more. And I can't even tell you how wrong I was for having those emotions. I couldn't stand when we'd have speakers come in when I was playing football in the NFL and in college. They'd come in and say, guys, just enjoy the process, love the process. I'm like,
I know.
You put a helmet on and come play football in South Beach, down in Miami, when it's 105 degrees and 100% humidity.
You walk in with a raw speech. I got to go out there on the field.
Enjoy the process. Like, wait a minute, this is hard. But the process was jammed down my throat in college and the NFL. It was came to me. The speakers came to me. The training came to me. The nutrition, it was forced upon me. It wasn't until all those things stopped and then I started having to put my own money up for that investment. That I realized, wait a minute, I love this process.
Yeah. You wouldn't pay for it otherwise.
Right. Whenever I had to choose to do the process, I began to be in love with it. Yep. I hated that term, enjoy the process or ride out the process. It was just like, you got to be kidding me, man. You're not the one sweating out here. You're not dying.
Cool speech, but you just don't get it. You don't understand. Like that's like you're.
But I was wrong. I was dead,
without a doubt,
dead wrong. And so now it's like, wait a minute. The process is where you get the gains. The process is where you get the mental fortitude to go perform. And so actually, I'll be that old guy now that goes back to all the young people and says, enjoy the freaking process, because I was wrong about that process.
Well, I think what you have now versus then is data. You have far more data, right? When you're younger, you don't have data. You're like, the process, like this is grueling, this is tough. And then as you get older and you have that hindsight, you really realize how much you grew as an individual because of the process, right? And then you start appreciating it a little bit more. But if somebody goes in year one, somebody says, enjoy the process, and they're feeling like they're going through hell, they're like, what? I just don't get it. But by year 10 or 15, or when somebody's about to exit the league, they're telling the youngsters, enjoy the process. It goes by quick, and they're saying,
come on,
shut up.
I'm tired right now.
But then when they have data, 3, 4, 5 years worth of data of working and seeing the result from the process, that's when it comes full circle, and that you understand a lot of the cliche shit that's said from motivational speakers and all that stuff. it's true. That's the reason why that's why it's on repeat.
Well, let's be real. When you look back too, and you're not doing a whole lot with yourself anymore, you do miss that old grind, man. Like I remember, I hit stages in my life where I was complacent, and I look back and I was like, man, I miss those wrestling days. I was a wrestler growing up. I was like, I missed that pushing myself and being pushed by somebody else. And you realize that it was a lot more enjoyable than you thought in the moment. You know, that's something I've realized anyway. So I try not to hit complacency anymore. Because it's not a very good feeling or a place to be.
Yeah, it comes down to fall in love with pain, and what that means, because pain, you can only experience joy if you know pain. Right? So fall in love with that. Put yourself through some pain at the gym. Put yourself through some pain with making yourself a little bit nervous to go and speak on stage. That nervousness, when you go speak on stage and you complete that and do well, it feels so
you
good.
You feel
afterwards.
Proud, right? Because you overcame something,
right?
And you can't feel pride as a human being if you're not overcoming. And I think that that's the issue in today's society is people don't challenge themselves, so they're not even proud of themselves, and they get into a very low spot, and they just stay there, and they don't ever course correct. Anybody has the ability to course correct. There could be a 40-year-old listening to this, a 50-year-old listening to this. They can still course correct. They could still get up and say, you know what, this year I'm going to do a marathon. Maybe not an Ironman, but then the next year, now I'm going to go for the bite off something. Do something that the old you wouldn't do so that you can start feeling proud of yourself again. Sign up for fucking something and just get it. Just do it. Like I was telling Kel, because I'm in the process of becoming a pilot, and so I was sitting there, I'm like, I'll sign up for that in January, right? Because it's like mid-November. I'm like, Thanksgiving's around the corner, then there's Christmas. Like, I'll get to that next year. Right? And then I was like, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen over the next 6 or 7 weeks. And I don't know what excuses I might come up with. And it was a Saturday. And I was like, that probably won't be open if I call. And then, again, my mind just keeps talking me out of doing it right then and there. And it's wanting to push the date back of when I actually commit. Just like people do, I'm going to start on Monday. They push the date back. And then I just made the call and just did it. And that feels good, just knowing that when you sign up for something, at that point you're holding your own feet to the fire at that point, right? You committed to an Ironman. You've got to make the commitment before you even start training. You don't just start training and saying, maybe I'll do it. Bite off something big, make a very large commitment, and then watch how your habits slowly change and course correct to start navigating towards that big goal that you just said that you wanted to accomplish. And that's how you get it done, right?
100%.
What would you say, some of the habits that you have right now were the biggest help to you in terms of whatever it is, like mental, clarity or, growth just in general, right? Because we talk a lot about habits and routines and, shit like that because you are what your habits are, right?
Yeah.
The reason why you're in shape is because you have habits that correlate with you being in shape, right?
Sure.
And so what are some of the habits that you would credit some of your success to in terms of growth? Besides biking and running and swimming.
Well, once again, right now, I wake up in the morning already with a pre-planned schedule of what my workout is from the Iron Cowboy who tells me what my workout is. So I just hit the refresh button. All right, I guess I'm biking. I guess I'm swimming. So that's that's forced upon habits. But fitness is massive. I have all my best ideas in a couple places. Non-related to fitness is the shower. One. But that comes typically post-workout. When your endorphins are high, you're in the shower, you're thinking, all this epiphany, right? I mean, everyone wins an argument in the shower. Those arguments, everyone wins the argument in the shower.
Exactly.
But you also have your best thoughts because you're thinking that the reason why that's funny but true is because you have your best thoughts when your endorphins are high, you just hit a workout, you're hitting that shower, and you're finally relaxing and thinking about what just happening. Not on your phone in the shower, right? You're typically just hit a workout, did something physical, and now you're sitting there and you're relaxed and calm. Those are where my best ideas come from. So putting the phone away at certain times, because I feel like I'm somewhat of a creative. Being an entrepreneur, you have to just constantly create. You have to constantly fail and create. So putting yourself in a place where your phone is away or you're on the bike or you're on the run where you can't even check it, that's always where your best ideas come from.
It's true.
Number one is that. Number two is reading. It's $15 to sit down with Phil Knight and read his book. It's $15 to hang out with Phil Knight for a day. It takes you about a day to read Shoe Dog. if you just read the whole day. And I could either sit down with him and have him tell me the book, or I can just read his book and it's pretty much the same exact thing. So proximity, like I said, is power.
Right.
So read pro bowlers' books, read the best people's books, and you'll have incredible ideas. I can't even tell you how many times I've been on a sales call or been teaching or coaching or in front of my entire company speaking, and something from a book, an example, a story comes to my mind. I'm like, bam, that was perfect timing. But it's because you filled your brain with all that knowledge.
So true.
So exercise, reading, but also networking. Networking is something that I really, really love to do.
That's true.
Naturally, like my brother absolutely hates it. I'm predisposed to absolutely love it. But what I've realized is that it's typically the friendships I make when you make that connection with someone. You start talking about business ideas. You start talking about cool things. I wouldn't have gone to lunch to make a friend with the Iron Cowboy. Then I wouldn't be doing an Ironman. I didn't go there saying, I'm going to go to lunch with you to commit to the Ironman. It was, let me just go hang out and pick your brain.
And then look what happened.
All of a sudden, because of it, I'm now doing an Ironman. And so it wasn't until I reached out to Lewis Howes that it opened up all these experiences. So whether it's with doing podcasts, whether it's just inviting people over to hang out, it just shows your initiative to connect with human beings. So exercise, putting the phone down, think time, reading, and then just networking. Typically, you start businesses with people that you like. So hang around people you like and make new friends. And those four things, to me, those are my habits. If you're looking for daily habits, I can go through that as well. But those are my just natural life habits. I've got to add in reading every day. I've got to work out every day. I've got to talk on the phone with people every single day. And you
got to shower every day.
I got to think.
Yeah, you do have to shower every day.
You should shower.
That's good.
And you got to think every single day.
He may shower 3 times a day with how much training he's doing. But
networking's my jam too, man. That's what I love. That's how we've built our business over all these years, is networking. And it's so cool how many doors that opens by just putting yourself out there and connecting with people. And everything's your network. Your web developer, your videographer, the guests you bring on your podcast. Like, everything's networking, man. Like, every single person is in your network. And so, you know, that saying, the more hands you shake, the more money you make, is so true. But it's not even just about money. It's just about the abundance or the quality it brings back to your life, and what it also enables you to do to other people's life as well.
100%.
You know? So
And
I love
it's networking the right way, though, too. Like, if I would have hit up...
some people, exactly. Some people are like, hey, let's collab, you know, or something. And it's just that or whatever. But that really means, like, hey, I want something from you.
Yeah, and like you have some sort of power that I need.
Yeah, exactly.
It's networking the right way. So for me, when I want to connect with somebody, I've got to tell them a story on why we should be connecting. If I would have hit up Lewis Howes 3 years ago,
let's collab.
Let's hang out. Like, let's get together. Like, I'd love to network with you. Like, you use the word network with me. Like, no. That's not how it goes. What I did with Lewis was I would listen to a podcast by him, and I thank my wife for this day, because she was actually listening to the podcast. I just kind of joined in and said, what are you listening to? Let me listen. It was Lewis Howes and Rachel Hollis. And Lewis Howes starts telling his story about how he got to where he was at.
Olympic athlete.
Yeah, and so he went from college sports to pro sports to losing a parent to severe injury, which kind of ended his career. And I'm like, wait a minute, that seems like my timeline.
Right.
That seems a lot like what I'm doing.
Biography?
Is this my guy? Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
To turning into wanting to inspire millions of people, to being in love with networking. I'm like, this guy sounds like my guy. This is getting weird.
Yeah.
So I DM'd him and said, Lewis, we have a crazy similar story. Check this out. Check out my story. Went from college to pro to losing a parent to injury to wanting to inspire millions of people. And he responded, said, man, that's crazy. I had no idea. That's nuts. And it was refreshing for us to connect and meet. Why? Because I doubt he's met many people that have the same story as him.
Yep.
Right.
And so we were able to connect,
relate with him.
and it was authentic right away. We hit it off. We were supposed to get like a 30-minute workout together. It turned into a workout, hanging out, and a dinner, and a 4-hour day together. To us, half naked on a mountain in the snow,
freezing your ass off.
Take that the right way. Freezing our butt off in Poland together on a hike with Wim Hof.
Yeah.
How did one networking
message.
DMs? How did that work? And it was because storytelling is powerful, super powerful. So you want to connect with people. Don't hit them up and just say, let's network.
Yeah.
What do you mean network? That's going to be awkward. You want to sit across the table and just network?
No.
Tell me your story.
That's a huge point right there.
Tell me a story and how I can actually come in and mentor you. And I have people do that to me all the time, and it works. Some people that DM me, It just doesn't work because I can't feel that connection even through the DM. And so I don't feel like it's going to work in person. So if people tell me a crazy story that connects with me, there actually is value there.
Yeah. Well, dude, I know you got to get out of here in a couple minutes, but
I'm good. I want to see if you guys, 20 minutes, I'm good. If you guys are good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, going into this podcast, who you would credit has had the biggest impact on you, right? You're doing a lot of cool shit. You've done a lot of cool shit, but who would you point at and say that individual right there is the individual that really has impacted me the most? That really.
It's a great question, man, and I'll spare saving the obvious answer, which is older brother, mom, and dad.
Yeah.
Because no one else in the world can have that.
Yeah,
right? Those are my parents. Like,
give them something.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have them come and speak, and it's not gonna happen. So I'm gonna spare that.
Yeah.
But they've had a massive influence on me and habits and all that.
Absolutely.
And that's probably the actual answer.
Yeah.
But besides that.
If somebody doesn't have a good family environment, you know what I mean? They can't have that,
yeah.
right?
And so I've been very fortunate.
What else outside of family?
Yeah.
If I don't have what he's had, where can I go, or who can I turn to potentially, pull information from that might switch somebody's gear?
I would also say it'd be a shame of me to credit only one person, though, because so many people have had a profound impact. I would
Top
say
3, 5, whatever.
Yeah, I would say find as many people as you can to truly, authentically network with. That your stories connect really well. You're on the same path together, because it's refreshing for me to meet people on the same path as me. It's refreshing because everything there's going to be synergy.
There's so much common. Like that's people don't understand. They're like they think rich people only hang out with rich people because they don't like poor people or something. No, it's because they have the same mindset. They understand each other. They've gone through some of this. Exactly. They've gone through some of the similar struggles, running businesses that were hard for the first couple years or whatever, and went through that and then ended up basically, winning at the end.
Sure.
Like we both own businesses, right? We both like self-improvement, right? That's just what it is. That's why we wanted you on the podcast, is because you are the individual that we're trying to tell these people that are listening to be. And when they can actually hear from you and understand some of the shit that we've been preaching over the last year and a half actually works because you're a product of self-improvement and surrounding yourself with great people, always trying to grow, reading, staying uncomfortable, all of these things that we've talked about, you've hit on every single one of them. And then look at you, you're a winner, right? And so... But you don't just celebrate the wins that you've had. You're looking for new ones. You're continuing to build that life's resume. And that's why it's so important for people to hear from individuals like yourself.
Yeah. And speaking on that, this is a challenge to everyone listening to find someone who has the resume that you want. Right? Find someone who has that resume because they've already laid out the blueprint. Jesse Itzler is someone who always talks about, build your life resume.
Yeah, because that calendar.
Exactly. Stuff, that'll create a blueprint for other people who want to do the exact same thing. So he has a lot of people watching him. And so him and I are very, very similar. Super, super similar. High energy. We love crazy things. We love fun. We don't care to get embarrassed. And we're very, very similar in a lot of ways. And so I've when I first reached out to him and we connected via social media as well. I didn't get to meet him till after we went to Poland together. But him and I connected, and there was an instant meshing of, wait a minute, we're kind of the same guy. He's 51, I'm 29. And it's like, wait a minute, well, you're just like the younger version of me. And so there was synergy in that same direction because he had a resume, a life resume that I was like, I'm going to have that exact same thing. I'm not asking you to be my mentor. Hey, can you be my mentor? Because that's just adding another job onto his life. Right. It's just, let's be friends. I'll just be the younger version of you. We're on the same path anyways. And I know we'll click. I know we'll click.
Even though the path isn't exactly the same, like there is a lot of people that have kind of walked down that road you want to go down. And there's a lot of people that are going to walk that road behind you as well. And so it's really cool that spin on networking, right? Like just find those people, keep a lookout for those people that you really do relate with and that have similar stories somehow. Because they're out there, man. I see them all the time in business. I'm like, dang, man, this guy's gone through some same family stuff I've gone through. Or James Golden, I was talking to him out at $1 Million Mastermind. He's like, dude, I had a kid at freaking 17 years old. I got divorced. I lost all my money in my divorce. And I was like, dude, that's my story, man. And he loves his kid so much. And so, dude, we connect all the time on Facebook, you know? And so it's cool.
Yeah. There's that instant bond there, too.
Yeah.
Instant bond there. And you're going to face rejection in networking as well. But that's okay. And I think what people have to be cautious about in networking and in all that I've talked about is you can't just be a consumer. Get yourself in a position to where you can be the mentor one day too.
100%.
Be in that position. If you're just a reader but never start your business, and all those books have gone in vain.
And you're never taking action.
If you're the guy that's always talking about that mastermind course he took, or that networking event he went to, or that conference he went to, and they have all these checklists of all the cool things they've learn from a conference, an event, a webinar,
100%.
whatever.
They have all the information that they just don't know, they're not applying.
And you haven't started a business with it, or you haven't done XYZ with it, or you go learn from all these great people who are very mentally strong and do all these physical feats, and you haven't tried one yourself. You're just a consumer. You're just a consumer. So be the person that can give content. Like, no one wants to listen to you unless you've done it or been through something.
Exactly.
I had that epiphany as I was biking here today. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bike here, was so I could have my blood going and my thoughts come to me. Is no one wants to listen to you, or no one even cares to listen to you unless you've been through some shit.
Or you're where they might want to be, right? Like, I'm not going to listen to somebody that's way beneath me in terms of, I don't want the result that they had. Why am I going to listen to that individual, right? And so people are going to aspire to be just like you. They're going to look up to you. You've done a lot of cool shit, but you're showing them what the process looks like.
You got to consume and produce too.
Exactly.
You got to produce. If you're just a consumer, you'll be the guy that's working with. You'll be the guy that's working for the person who's producing, right? So trust me, I'm all for a balance. Like, you've got to read as an entrepreneur and as a leader. You just got to do it. As a salesperson, you've got to do it. But if you're just the guy that consumes, that never actually goes and hits those record-breaking numbers, then what are you even reading for?
That's actually what's up on this board right here, man. Like, I was reading this book, Traction, about systems and processes, which we've been developing over all these years, and we've got some great ones. But I'm like, man, we really haven't, like, defined our 10-year vision. We haven't defined our 3-year vision. And then it talks about breaking it down to the 90-day vision. So I'm like, guys, we got to get together and map this out. So this is our 90-day vision, our marketing plan, our fulfillment plan for the next 90 days. And it's like, you just got to implement it. Now everyone's bought into it, and things are already coming to life. Trevor and I are already making new connections, which are going to be new affiliates of ours. And it's like, everything's coming to life because we actually just
sat down.
And it came from a book, and then you did it though.
Exactly.
It came from a book.
Called a meeting last week, brought everybody in, ate lunch. Well, not everybody,
just
but
our
leaders.
leadership team.
And any leader in any department, whether it's sales or fulfillment or whatever it is, right? And we just said, here it is. Yep. You know, you guys have to buy into all this because everybody's looking to you guys as the leaders, and it all has to trickle down to everybody else. They're going to be looking at you, and if you guys aren't buying in and you guys aren't doing all the things that we're talking about to you guys and that we talked about to them as well, then they're not going to do it. You know, if we tell you guys to stay positive, but you let somebody sit in your office and bitch and complain and moan about something, that's not living up to the core values. That's not living up to what we're trying to accomplish. Your job is to squash that. Your job is to make sure that everybody stays positive. Figure out what we can do to make sure that every individual in our company and in this ecosystem is leveling up, because if they're not leveling up, then they're going to get complacent. And once they get complacent, then they're going to get negative because they don't see that they're even making progress. Happiness comes from making progress, period. And if an individual is working at a company and they don't feel like that they're making progress or there's not opportunity, they're going to be a half-ass employee, right? And so, you know, that was it was one of the greatest meetings that we've had in terms of bringing our leaders together and sharing the vision and having them buy in on it. And
we've learned over the 15 years we've been in business, you can make some success just off sheer hustle and grind and all that. But man, when you actually start implementing the reading and implementing what's in the book and actually focus on the networking and leveling up yourself so your team does as well, dude, that's when the magic starts happening. That's actually fulfilling success, not just hustle grind success. That's really just kind of like, you get the paycheck and it's like, cool, I got paid a lot of money or whatever. It's just not as fulfilling, right? It's not as rewarding.
Yeah.
And so I really love the way our podcast has went today. Just like that blueprint of like, man, leveling up yourself, reading, creating those habits, and then implementing them.
Let me ask you this.
That is the sauce.
Financially, has your situation got better the more that you put yourself to the fire as an individual?
100%, man. 100%.
Without a doubt.
I mean,
it works every time.
Without a doubt, man.
Because even just having a gym membership for $25 or 30, it doesn't cost a lot to put yourself to the fire. And to win some of those mental battles that you're going to face when you wake up early or you get home from work if you work out at night and you're tired or you've had a long day or this, that, all of the excuses. That's the perfect opportunity to become mentally disciplined. Anytime that you go against whatever your mind's trying to sell you, you're becoming more disciplined, right? Yep. And you understand that you could use your body, your physique, as an opportunity to become more disciplined as a human being, which ultimately will leak over into business as well, right? Yep. And so, 3 or 4 years ago, we were probably doing whatever, 5 or 6 million in revenue. When we started focusing on self-improvement, our income's doubled, triple, it continues just to increase.
People are watching.
And it's because we have a new set of eyeballs on our business, because we're not the same person that we were 3 or 4 years ago. If the same set of eyes are on your business, then you're never going to create solutions to the problems that you have, because those eyes created the problem. You can't see the solution yet. If you already knew what the solution would, you would already be doing 10 million or 20 million or 30 million. Just admit that who you are today is not good enough to reach 20 million or 30 million or 40 million. And your goal should become to become qualified to be the type of individual that's deserving of 20 million or 30 million. But you have to have the mindset of an individual that's worth 20 million or 30 million so that you can get there. And the way to do it is become more disciplined. It's all the shit that you do outside of work that ultimately will affect your work, probably more so than you just showing up 9 to 5 on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I think what has a lot to do with it is your own personal self-esteem and your own worth. Mm-hmm. What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe that you're okay with making 60 grand? That's great to you. That's great. That's all you ever do, and that could be great for you.
Yeah.
But if you're making $1 million a year and you focus on self-improvement and being a continuous learner, by the end of this, not there's an end of self-improvement, by the end of the year, let's just call it, at the end of 6 months, your self-worth is so much higher.
Yeah.
Your self-esteem is so much higher when you dove into those books, you dove into that training, you did that Ironman, you did that marathon, whatever your goal is, that at the end of those 6 months, you're like, wait a minute, why was I so okay with who I used to be? That's not okay now, but because you've improved. And so it comes, check this out. So many people are willing to spend $2,000 on the new iPhone, but not $2,000 to go to that mastermind class. $2,000 iPad or iPhone, that's a great price, but the $2,000 mastermind class or the conference, way too expensive.
That shit will, but the mastermind will pay dividends for the rest of your life.
You can't even measure it. You can't even measure the return.
$100 night out. That's a date night. That's cool. That's cool. But that $100 to go get that gym membership for the entire year of VASA, it's too much. I just can't do that. $100, I just can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's just people that are willing to reallocate their time, their energy, and their money into raising the level of self-esteem.
Well, I think a lot of people are still caught at, the self-improvement stuff is just fluff, right? Because we were caught at that at one point, early on in entrepreneurship. We make
it was hard to buy into.
Yeah, we make 100 or 200 grand a year. We're young. We think that we're the shit, and we think we got it all figured out. And then you see courses or this or that or masterminds. You're just like, oh, they're just trying to sell some bullshit. Yeah. That's just their business, right?
To some suckers.
Yeah, to some suckers that are going to believe in some fluffy, fugazi, crazy, dumb shit, right? Yeah. But then when you actually do it, and I think successful people are just super open-minded. They're just down to try whatever, right? And so when we finally got to a point where we're like, okay, we want to go to the next level, you can't go to the next level if you're closed-minded, right? So then we had to be open to joining groups and masterminds and surrounding ourselves with other people that can help level us up, right? Yep. And when we started doing that, that's exactly what happened. It wouldn't matter, if if we just continued on and doing what we would have, or what we used to always do, we would have been fine. We would live okay lives or whatever. But now we realize, just as you talked about earlier, you're like, we look back and we're like, holy shit, why did we take so long? Why did we take so long to be open-minded? Why did we take so long to start a podcast? Why did we take so long to open up a book? And it's like, I guarantee you there's some people listening right now that have some of those similar mindsets that we had early on in business, and they just haven't fully committed to being open-minded enough to try everything. You should be having a lab coat on for the rest of your life and just try and test everything. The fact he doesn't know, how well of an Ironman he is, right? Until he puts the lab coat on and says, let's fucking try it. Let's give it a go. Yep. Let's jump in the pool. Let's start riding bikes. Let's start running. You've got to always be pushing yourself and finding what you're good at, what you enjoy doing. You're probably enjoying the process a little bit more now that you're older and you have data of college football, NFL football, and they said, enjoy the process, enjoy the process. Now that you have the data that you have, you can actually really enjoy the process and love holding your own feet to the fire, right?
I think success truly is a combination of confidence and humility. Mm-hmm. Because you need the confidence and the self-talk to say, I'm going to be great one day. Right. It takes confidence to say that.
Yes.
Some people, they can't even tell themselves that because they know that's cocky. It's not.
Yeah.
It's loving yourself, and it's super confident. Say, I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to be the fastest on the team. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to make $100 million. It's very confident to say that, but it takes a ton of humility to read those saying, I don't know enough yet, but I have the confidence that I will get there.
Yeah.
So it's speaking it truly into existence. My wife catches me, this is no joke. She catches me all the time talking to myself. All the time I'm talking to myself.
She's like, huh?
I'm having conversation.
It's just me over here with me.
It's more normal than you think.
I don't even know she's in the room.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you talking to yourself about? Nothing. But I'm talking to myself because I got dialogue that I need to tell myself. I need to tell myself that I'm going to have this great business. Yes. I'm going to tell myself it's going to be great. I'm going to tell myself this Ironman will be completed before it ever happens. I'm going to tell myself we're going to do 20 million this year. I got to tell myself that we're going to do it. But then the second that conversation's over in my mind, I got to have the humility to say, well, to get there though, it's got to be this many books. Exactly. It's got to be this many seminars. I got to go to this many podcasts. I got to call this many people today. It's the confidence to say it will be done before it happens, and the humility to do what it takes to get
there.
Like
I said, everything that we talked about, we're just going down the list and checking it off. And one of the things that we've been on recently in the last 2 or 3 months is I am affirmations, right? Positive type affirmations. Yeah. I am an owner of a $20 million company. I am an Ironman, right? You've got to start identifying with those things and identify with it first of who you want to be and what you're trying to accomplish, and then figure out the rest later.
Well, even the leadership book I'm reading right now, man, it talks so much about humility, because you've got to be able to tell yourself and accept that, man, I don't have it all figured out. And you got to be able to question yourself and kind of give into that. You got to be able to have enough humility to say, man, I've got these habits over here, and own those and actually start working towards replacing those habits. And so, humility is a huge leadership.
Or humility enough to reach out and ask somebody for help.
To DM someone who possibly get rejected, or get the start the podcast and possibly it fails, or
it's a huge leadership trait.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
Dude, you just blew up our podcast, bro.
Let's go.
Freaking bones.
Let's go, baby.
No, I loved literally every second of it.
Appreciate
it. Without a doubt.
Appreciate it.
It's just fun to get into rooms with high achievers, individuals that just are always trying to dial it in just a little bit more, right?
Thank you.
And I just love to be around it. It feels great. It feels good, and I know for a fact a shit ton of people are going to get value out of it. You've just literally cemented everything that we've talked about over the course of the last year in one episode. But the way that you talk about it, the way that you present yourself, the actions and the habits that you have are matching up with everything that you say that you want to accomplish. And that's the disconnect. As everybody wants it to happen, but their actions and habits do not line up with what they say that they want. And it's always refreshing to be around an individual that just does the work And you can just already know, well, wherever he steers his mind, whatever he points towards, he's going to dial it into the point where he's going to accomplish it, right? And that's a scary individual. But it all starts and ends with your mind. And if individuals don't understand that by now after listening to our podcast for the last year and a half, then, I don't know what else we can do to kind of hammer it in, because your mindset is solid, right? You're always putting yourself to the fire, not because you just want to be the most ripped person in the world, because you're hardening your mind every single time that you get out of bed that you don't want to get out of bed, every extra lap that you swim, every bike ride that you go on. There's so many other things that you could be doing, but you're choosing the hard, and you're hardening your mind, and I applaud you for it.
I call that, thank you, by the way. I call that Redefine Hard. That's my tagline. I'm wearing it on my body.
Is that your brand?
It's like that's just what I've said for years and years. And I don't own a clothing company, but I make some gear. And I should have brought you guys something, but I make gear. I'll send you guys something. But to me, those who can be addicted to and obsessed with is probably a better word, redefining their personal definition of what hard is.
Basically, in other words, setting a new standard.
Setting a new standard for yourself. Right? What does hard really mean to you? Hard to me 5 years ago is not even close to my standard of hard right now with all that I've gone through. And so hard came to me. But I've been knocking on hard's door even harder than I ever have the last 3-4 years, ever since I've stopped playing football. And my definition of hard is way different. And my happiness is also a lot higher as well.
Happiness and your financial rewards. Every bit of it encompasses all of it, right? And it all starts right there.
If I can change what hard means to me, if everyone's definition of what hard is not as strong as what mine is, I'll be the person that can lead an entire room and a whole group of people. Because when for lack of a better term, when shit hits the fan, people look for the strongest person in the room.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're the strongest person in the room, not for egotistical purpose, but if you're the strongest person in the room, people are going to look to you and say, well, what's next? What do we do? Because you've been through it.
Yeah.
Help us get through it too.
Yeah.
So in my itch and my appetite that I have to be a great leader, I've got to constantly redefine hard. It's the confidence to say, I'm a strong guy. I'm tough. I'm there. I have mental fortitude, but the humility to kick my butt this morning in the pool and to kick my butt this morning on the bike,
and to reach out to somebody and go have lunch with them. All of these things. It just all comes together when you're doing all the things right. And that's you right now, right? And I would say, again, we've just talked about the happiness level, the financial level, but the difficult level is at an all-time high. You're pushing yourself far more than that you ever have. Somebody's hard right now might be one lap around a track at the local college.
It's a great start.
So cool, make it 2, then make it 3, 4. Again, you have to raise the standard or redefine your hard. Because again, what your hard was 5 years ago versus today, they're 2 totally different things. And it's not going to happen overnight. I think that people measure results in too short of a time frame. They get frustrated, and that's why they quit and give up. But if they actually committed to the long haul of just being the best individual that they could possibly be, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years is going to come and go, and you won't even recognize the person that you are that day than the day that you finally made the commitment to do something different.
Put out a crazy goal 6 months from now. Everyone that's listening to this,
yes,
you guys, put out a crazy goal 6 months from now, and you're actually okay with sucking at first because you say to yourself, I have 6 months. Yeah. It's okay to suck.
Right.
But if you're just to go out and start sucking, you almost get depressed because you're like, I'm sucking for no reason. That one lap around a track, like, oh, I suck, I hate running, I'm not going to do it again. But if you knew you had to run a marathon, you're like, well, I'm okay with sucking because I know I'll get better halfway.
Yeah.
I have to get better.
And you just will because you have that plan.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Put that concrete goal out there 6 months from now or a year from now. Like I have with the Ironman, with my 1,000 accounts, or to do XYZ with my business. Put it out there a certain distance away, and you'll be okay with sucking at first because you know you have some time.
I like that. And
you'll
ultra
quit.
Commit to it.
You'll quit when it starts to suck if there's no goal in mind.
Yes.
You'll flat out quit. If you're
just like, hey, I just want to start running every day.
Exercise, yeah.
By the end of the week, you're like, it's whatever. But if you actually signed up for a marathon today as you're listening to this, I promise you, those mornings that you want to stay in bed, that's gonna
the ball will roll the right direction.
Exactly. It's gonna start. You're gonna start leaning into a different direction and leaning into a new you, right? And you will become a new you in 6 months after going through all that shit.
I don't mean to get too deep at all, but like parents always look for. I'm definitely not acting like I'm the best parent. I have a baby that's seven weeks old, but. For me, I was fortunate to watch parents who were a lot like me and drove themselves and accomplished a lot of great things. It set a blueprint for me. So if there are parents out there that are listening to this, you don't always have to be the guru and have the best one-liner for your kids to teach them. They're soaking up everything like a sponge.
Yep.
And so if I can create a blueprint of 20, 30, 40 amazing, cool things that I've done for how much I give, the speaking I'm doing, the physical things I'm doing. I'm trying to break a world record next year, do all the things with my business. If my kids just glance at my resume, they'll say, well, my dad did that? That guy's a goofball. I can do that too, right?
Yeah.
And so just build a resume, build a blueprint for everyone that watches and follows, and that's where you get a lot of added motivation for free. It's free. I know people are watching me all the time, and I act like people are watching me all the time. And so I have free motivation to build a blueprint. And free motivation, we'll all take free motivation. So take that free motivation of people watching and build a blueprint.
And that's the legacy everybody talks about. You know, everybody reaches a certain level of success and they're like, oh man, I just, legacy's what's driving me, and that's what it is, man. Leaving that behind to where you can do that for your children and then they can do it for theirs and you can build a phenomenal family culture. Like for me anyway, that's a big part of my legacy. Like I want to be that example to them. And so I love how you worded that, because it's not just in business, it's in your personal life.
Yeah.
And that to me is the legacy a lot of people are trying to create or talk about creating. But again,
he just
you got to do it by doing it. Yeah,
exactly. So how do people connect with you, man? If they want to reach out to you or just kind of follow your journey, what's the best place to?
On Instagram, I answer all my own DMs.
Okay.
So it's at Mitch Mathews 10. Matthews has one T on it, which is odd, but it's at Mitch Mathews 10. Same with Twitter if that's your thing. Reach out to me. I answer all my DMs. And just follow my journey. Yeah,
and we'll make sure that we put we usually put people's Instagram handle in the bio of in the show notes.
MitchMathews.com. I speak occasionally, so if you want to book me there or just connect.
We'll definitely have you out for some of our speaking stuff.
Are you looking for new sales reps too?
Absolutely.
Always looking for good young talent.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So guys in Utah or all over?
All over.
All over.
We're very decentralized. So we have all over.
So some of you youngsters that are listening that don't own your own business yet, we've talked about it before, that sales is the perfect
foundation,
perfect job to go into to have a lot of similar things as an entrepreneur, right? The rejection, the no's, the uphill battles on a day-to-day basis to try to get to your goals. And so if you're young and you're hungry and you're not making good money, but you want to make good money, you want to surround yourself with good people. Yeah, exactly. Make sure that you connect with him, reach out to him, see what type of opportunities that he has available. But don't do it if you're going to be a half-ass person and just half-ass commit. Like when you're actually ready to full out commit and try to find the best version of yourself through knocking doors and getting punched in the face. Not literally. Well, in some cases it is literal. I've seen door knocking people get punched in the face.
That's true.
So get off my property, boom. So yes, if you want to get punched in the face, literally,
yes,
and metaphorically.
Hey, I've been screamed at on some doors. I did some door to door a little bit. What do some of the top reps make, if you don't mind sharing? If you want some guys to reach out.
There's multiple different industries, but just to put in perspective, our top guy this year. His name is Austin. He did 1,000 homes that he sold.
Awesome.
Pest control to in 6 months' time, and he made $250,000 when we bought him a new Corvette.
Awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. And he's a guy that started out by doing 1/5 of that his first year 2 years ago to doing 40% of 1,000 accounts, which is 400 accounts, to doing the big leap and hitting 1,000 accounts. So. He's a walking testimony.
3 years in.
3 years in, he's a walking testimony that anyone can do it.
Yeah. That's so incredible.
That's cool. Guys, we know you enjoyed the episode. Make sure that you find Mitch on Instagram, connect with him. He's a solid dude. He's doing everything that we've talked about, that we've preached to you. And it's just kind of cool to watch his journey, watch him put in the work. So make sure you connect with him there. Other than that, guys, have a kick-ass day. Thanks for tuning in.